Mataconda77 very generously gave me a year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Rohgahh Kirkeep Overlord versus Muldrotha, Tetsuo and Evelyn. A 3-lander with ramp and card draw. I don't see a reason to ship that back. Drawing into a Gilded Lotus on turn 1, we'll get the Snow Land into play, ready for a Talisman. Sol Ring for Evelyn. The other two players just drop lands. We draw into a Mana Crypt. So we can't get out Gilded Lotus this turn. We'll just go after the Talisman still, I think. So it's Wooded Foothills into Badlands. And then we can go Talisman and the Read the Bones this turn. And that'll leave us with 6 cards in hand. So yeah, we'll do that. Go Mana Crypt and the Talisman. And that way we can go for the Gilded Lotus next turn if we want to. So on top we see a Canyon Slough, which we can make a land drop with the Malakir Rebirth next turn if we want to. So yeah, Dragon Mage isn't necessarily the best thing. It's not the worst thing to keep in hand either though. We don't have any other means of card draw at the moment, so let's go Canyon Slough on the bottom. And we'll put the Dragon Mage on top. Drawing into a Demonic Tutor. Talisman of Curiosity for Muldrotha is their first spell. Rakdos mana being held up by Tetsuo. Drawing into Nameless Inversion. A tribal piece of removal. Let's see here. I think I do just go for the Gilded Lotus here. And I will drop the Malakir Rebirth as a land. Don't really like doing that, but I don't want to lose land drops. And then do we go Demonic Tutor here? So that we can get into a Haste Enabler maybe? A Haste Enabler for the Dragon Mage might be a good idea, so yeah, let's go Demonic Tutor. So just deciding to tutor up a Fervor there. Drawing a Liberator of Malakir. The Grixis player over here is struggling on colours, unfortunately. Tetsuo missing blue mana, unfortunately, so not being able to get their commander down there. Zulaport Cutthroat from Muldrotha. And following that up with a Perpetual Timepiece, which is tap mill 2 cards, 2 exile it, shuffle any number of cards from graveyard to library. And they tap that down straight away to mill 2 cards, and that is a Forest and a Root Coil Creeper. Drawing into a mountain, so our 4th land by turn 4. Throw that out and it's time for our commander, I think. We'll just have to hope we don't see removal from Tetsuo. So that allows us to cast Skeletal Changeling this turn, which will count as both a dragon and a kobold creature. So we could put 2 mana into this and just lose out on the haste. Yeah, I think we do that here. So once our commander's in play, for a total of 4 mana, we end up with a 3-3, a 4-4 Flying Dragon, and a 2-3 Kobold. Not bad. Looks like Evelyn has just kept a 2-lander just because it had a Sol Ring in it, but didn't take notice of the fact that they only had 1 colour available to them. They play a Call the Bloodline and a Vampire of the Dire Moon here, activating the enchantment, discarding a Malakir Blood Witch, which is a really good one to discard. They might have Reanimation in the deck though. Drana swings in towards Tetsuo and will put a plus counter on itself. Yep, so thanks to being stuck on colours, the Tetsuo player decides to scoop. Really hoping we don't see more scoops here because it's really difficult to get Rohgahh games. Command Beacon from Muldrotha. Sir Conrad the Grim, so obviously gone for an Aristocrats build of Muldrotha. And end up with a creature in the bin in Angel of Suffering after the mill. So they do ping us with that Sir Conrad. Excellent. Maskwood Nexus is going to give our creatures all creature types, so they will get the +2/+2 from kobolds, and they'll all trigger the pay 2 and make what will be a 6/6 dragon. I think I'll just set up with Maskwood Nexus and Fervor in that case. I'd like to get down Obsidian Charmor, but yeah, I think Muldrotha will scoop if we blow up any of their lands. So yeah, let's just go for the Maskwood Nexus. So all of our stuff has haste now thanks to the Fervor. We hold up the Nameless Inversion and we'll swing our 6/6 flyer in towards Muldrotha. And as I thought, these are swinging in towards us. Yeah, I have a feeling the Evelyn player might scoop on us here, but I'm going to go Nameless Inversion onto the Zulaport Cutthroat, and that will count as a Kobold and Dragon. The Drana and the Vampire of the Dire Moon both swinging in towards us. Just going to go Nameless Inversion now onto the Zulaport Cutthroat. I don't think I'm going to remove anything from Evelyn because I don't want to have them scoop on us, so yeah, I think I'll block the Death Toucher while we've got the chance here. Unfortunately one shy of making another dragon. Triggering both Zulaport Cutthroat and the Sir Comrade will ping each of us for 1. Couple of creatures died there, our Kobold and the 2/2 Vampire of the Dire Moon, so Sir Comrade triggers again a couple of times, doing some work already. Now seeing Muldrotha the Gravetide come into play. Luckily they don't have any mana held up, and then milling another 2 cards with that thing. In response to the mill, a Vampire token is being made. They discard the Leyline of Anticipation, which they're nowhere near casting. Props to my opponent for playing out, whilst they're very much struggling on mana. And then a couple of creatures, it looks like, were milled here. Poison Tip Archer and a Burnished Heart, so each getting pinged for 2 again from Sir Comrade. Might be able to help out the Grixis player here with a Dragon Mage that does have everyone wheel. We go down to 21 thanks to the Mana Crypt and a Balefire Dragon. That's a shame to draw into that now. Could go for this now, I suppose, because it's such a strong creature to have in play. Do we have the Muldrotha player scoop to that though? Yeah, can't neuter my plays all the time. So whilst our commander's in play, I'm not going to bother putting the 3 mana into Maskwood Nexus. I'd rather make a flyer as opposed to a vanilla creature, so we will pay into the Rohgahh here because that does count as a Kobold now that we've got the Maskwood Nexus in play. So for 7 mana, end up with a 6/6 flyer and an 8/8 flyer as well. Okay, going to be quite aggressive here. I'm swinging in my Kobolds and the Changeling into the left, and then the 6/6 Dragon and the 8/8 Balefire Dragon in at Muldrotha. Hopefully take out the Muldrotha player's creatures here. Blocks being made by the Vampire Knights. Managing to hit Muldrotha, so they go down to 21, so Comrade triggers a few more times here. So we just passed the turn at that. We still have a blocker for the Drana. Felwar Stone into play. They can make, all the colours they need now with the Felwar Stone. So now going for a Brainstorm, which I imagine they've had in hand this whole time. Might be able to make a land drop now. Still not dropping a land. They either don't run enough lands or they're really, really unlucky here after that Brainstorm. They discarded a Reflections of Lityara to the enchantment and made another Vampire Knight. Have to swing in at Muldrotha, knocking them down to 17. Another plus counter on the Drana. The Timepiece milling another couple of cards, a Grizzly Salvage and an Urborg this time. Seeing a Spore Frog from Muldrotha now, so that should save them from any combat that they might be suffering from us. They get a chump blocker in the way as well, in the form of Siren Storm Tamer. And then it is Cemetery Tampering. So hiding away a card under there, they've got 10 cards in the graveyard and need 20 in order to play that. Drawing into a land, so we make our 5th land by turn 7. Now then, we can encourage the Muldrotha player to not crack the Spore Frog if they think we're going to land with the Dragon Mage. And obviously we'd swing in over here. So, yeah, I think that's the thing to do here. Now, we could play this thing for 4 mana and blow up this thing. Try and keep them away from their Muldrotha, but I wouldn't mind them playing their Muldrotha next turn and then just passing the turn over. So, yeah, let's go for 2 mana into the Rohgahh. Maybe we can get into some spot removal that we can play for only 2 mana. Okay, so just holding back a few blockers. A 3/3 Changeling with Regenerate, a 6/6 Dragon, and a 2/3 Kobold. I'm not sure if our opponent's going to crack this Spore Frog to save their opponent here. But all of those going into the left. Alright, so a massive amount of damage there. They go plummeting down to -3. And that will trigger the Balefire Dragon, not that it matters. And we're going to refill Muldrotha's hand here, so yeah, that's the only downside of this, unfortunately. At least making it a 1-on-1 now. Okay, have lands to make, Torium Mauler. If we don't like this hand, we decide we can go for Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, okay, pass at that. Cemetery Tampering triggers at the beginning of the turn. That is a land, Caustic Caterpillar, and Raminap Excavator. Really, really don't want to see Caustic Caterpillar. I'm liking the artifacts and enchantments we have in play. If they want to get out their Muldrotha, they'll likely have to tap out into it here. Pernicious Deed is... yeah, that's a means of getting rid of all of our tokens. They've got 5 mana left up here. Milling 2 cards with the Timepiece, which gets them into a Wood Elves and a land. Then playing Talisman of Resilience will put them on 4 mana. Following that up with Sakura Tribalkai, 4 cards left in hand. Then another Aristocrat effect, that is a Blood Artist, so they could crack the Pernicious Deed for 0 mana and just get rid of the tokens from us. Forcing them to do that wouldn't necessarily be the worst outcome. Sacrificing Sakura Tribalkai will drain us by 1 to the Blood Artist. Okay, we lose the mana crit flip there, so go down to 14. The good thing about Pernicious Deed, if they wipe out our tokens, they'll take the mana crit with it. Draw into a Tainted Peak. We do control a swamp, so that is a Rakdos land for us. We'll play it. And then I want to get down the Cloudstone Curio here. I'm going to play Grave Shifter. And yeah, play the Grave Shifter. I want to get the, what is it called, the Nameless Inversion back. So a Kobold comes into play, that triggers the Cloudstone Curio, and I will say yes to that. I'm going to bounce the Skeletal Changeling. We're not going to land any damage here anyway. And let's put a couple of mana into the Rohgahh, that will make us a dragon. Then I won't bother bouncing anything with the Cloudstone Curio. Oh, actually, Grave Shifter can only grab a creature back for us, so Obsidian Charmor is the creature we'll go for here. Now cracking the Spore Frog. So we get that back into our hand. After that, I think I can just activate the Maskwood Nexus. And I'll bounce this thing back to hand so that we can use it to grab back our commander if it gets wiped out next turn. So we can actually do that during our opponent's turn here. I imagine we're just in a Spore Frog lock here. I was trying to get the Nameless Inversion back into hand because I wanted to get rid of this thing, but yeah, doesn't look like it's going to happen for us, annoyingly. The last thing you want to do with a Muldrotha player is let them go into the long game. Okay, so they've got exactly 20 cards in the graveyard now, so they can go for Gravebreaker Lamia from underneath the Cemetery Tampering. I imagine they've just got us here with the Pernicious Deed, if they crack that and the Blood Artist. So hopefully the game won't last too much longer, if it doesn't need to. Throwing a Kaya's Ghost form into the bin. Yeah, I think there's 15 creatures in play at the moment, so that is 5, 6 and 7. So all they have to do is dump 7 mana into this. There's not likely we're going to do anything about it in a Rakdos deck. Alright, there we go. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana they've put into that. Yeah, killing off everything except our dragons. So there we go, we lose all of our mana, pretty much all of our mana, and we lose haste in the fervour. And I think our opponent's got exactly enough on us here. And there we go, down to 0. Let's see if the client will let us see what we were drawing into here. Yeah, not much of anything that we were getting into there. Just a bunch of mana and a little bit of card draw. That's obviously really a combat-based deck, so if we get into the Spore Frog lock, then there's not a whole lot of anything that we're really going to do about it, apart from maybe exile it with the Bojuka Bog. I think that was still a pretty good showing of Rohgahh, Kirkkeep Overlord. It's a fun commander to build. It's not necessarily going to tangle with the likes of Muldrotha, but this is still a really fun one. If you're in a more casual, slower-paced kitchen table style commander, then yeah, Rohgahh is a really fun one to build, and got to see how it plays in this game at the very least, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. Huge thank you to the patrons for their continuous support as ever. You can do that yourself if you would like via the link in the description below. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.